to take you live to the Victorian Premier Jacinta, Allan.
Member colleagues, the member for Bendigo West, Marie Edwards, and the federal member for Bendigo, Lisa Chesters, and we're really proud local representatives of this great community. And we're really pleased to have the Prime Minister here today in Bendigo, getting briefed at the Incident Control Centre, and then shortly we'll also be travelling to the Harcourt community. Thank you, Prime Minister, for prioritising Victoria and the Harcourt community that has been so badly affected by the fires, and I'll come to the fire activity in a moment that continues to be in the landscape across Victoria. I'd also like to acknowledge ministerial colleagues Vicky Ward and Federal Minister Christy McBain, and thank their work on working together on the package that the Prime Minister and I will shortly be announcing of initial support. I'd also like to acknowledge, and we'll hear shortly from Tim Wiebush, the Emergency Management Commissioner. Tim will provide the greater detail on the active fires, the 32 active fires that are continuing across the state today. Also too, I'd like to acknowledge Mick Masters, the Incident Control Centre Controller here at the Bendigo ICC, and thank Mick and the teams that we've just met with who have worked around the clock since we've had this difficult fire in the landscape here in central Victoria emerge on Friday afternoon. And also on that front, I'd like to acknowledge Toby Hayden, the Mayor of Mount Alexander Shire, which represents that strong and beautiful community of Harcourt. And then finally too, we have Brett Hosking here, who's the President of the VFF, and I want to thank Brett and the VFF for working closely with our teams in AgVic, because we have not just seen impact on property and structures as a result of these fires across the state. There's also been impact to so many of our primary producing areas, loss of fences, livestock impacts and primary producing impacts as well. So just firstly, in terms of the situation here this morning in Victoria, as I said, we continue to have 32 active fires across the state. Around 10, but particularly of concern are the 10 major fire grounds that are continuing to have enormous resources deployed to managing those fires. These 10 major fires, to give you a sense of the ongoing danger that is presented by these fires, there are currently 15 emergency warnings that have been issued in terms of advising people to leave their local communities. And then there's a further 17 watch and act notifications that are underway right now. And if I at the outset can again ask Victorians, if you are told to leave by the emergency services, if you are told to leave, do so, because we know that is not only the best way to protect and save lives, it also supports the work of our emergency services who are out there on the ground as well. And I do want to thank Victorians who we know have been following that advice, and given the scale of the fires that are in the landscape today, we need Victorians to continue to follow that advice. Please stay tuned to local radio, be close, keep your Vic Emergency app close to get the latest updates of information, because that is the best way to be able to protect yourselves and support the work of our firefighters. From across a number of the fires, there has been a focus on containment, and we're seeing that around the work at Nadimuck, here at Harcourt. And to give you a sense of the enormous work that's been done in just a 24-hour period, the Harcourt fire ground is around 80% contained, which is just a remarkable effort given this time yesterday it was a very hot and active fire. So it gives you a sense of the huge resources that are being deployed on the fires right across the state. But we do have ongoing concerns around the fires in the northeast. The Longwood fire and the Walwa Mount Lawson fire continue to be very large and difficult fires. Those parts of the state are experiencing warmer, windy conditions again today. So again, please stay tuned to your local conditions, because those fires continue to present some great challenges in the northeast. And then also too in East Gippsland, there are major fires underway there as well. But also too of concern overnight has been the significance of the fires in the Otways, 2 fires in the Otways, Cape Otway and at Mount Carlisle, that are have come as a result of changed weather and dry lightning that has created these new fires in the southwest of the state, and huge resources are being deployed. On that matter of resources, we again have thousands of firefighters on the ground, 70 plus aircraft working on these fires, working around the clock to get these fires under control. We've already seen 350,000 hectares of the state burnt out. That number will increase as we continue to see these fires continue. So we will see fires continue for some time across the state, and again, that is why we are not through the worst of this by a long way. There are fires that are continuing right now that are threatening homes and property, and I ask Victorians to please stay mindful of local conditions. Also too, if roads are closed, if you are being advised not to go into certain areas, it's because it is not safe to do so. And so I also ask people to not, if you don't need to travel into these areas, if you are not a local resident, please obey the rules and do not go into areas because it's simply not safe to do so. The teams are working incredibly hard to get road access reopened where it's safe to do so, and are working with those local communities. For everyone else, please let these communities work through their local challenges, and please do not enter into these areas, and we have the state of disaster powers to enforce these requirements and the movement of people around these dangerous fire areas. I want to thank the Prime Minister for not just being here today. It's really important to have the Prime Minister briefed on the fire situation here in Victoria, but also for working with us on the initial package that the Prime Minister and I are announcing today. It's a package of $19.5 million of immediate support. And I make that point that this is for immediate support. And the package has been shaped by what we've been hearing on the ground over the last couple of days, and it's why it focuses on the personal hardship payments, emergency accommodation, and also too support for livestock as well. The Prime Minister will announce the further details, but thank you, PM, for providing this support. And I do also make the point that as we consider the recovery journey ahead, I say very clearly to the affected communities, we will continue to stand with you and support you on the recovery journey ahead. It's going to be a long one, particularly for those communities that have lost a lot of property. And so we will continue to support you on the journey ahead. Today's announcement is in response to what we've been hearing is the immediate relief and response need that is required from governments right now. As I hand over to the Prime Minister, I mentioned earlier we'll be going into the Harcourt community later on today. The Harcourt community has been so badly affected. It's a small community, a beautiful community. It's known for its apple growing, its beautiful produce, its beautiful landscape that's just been ravaged by these terrible fires. And so for Marie and for Lisa and I, it will be, we stand as local members to support our local communities. My kids went to kinder in Harcourt, so I feel a real deep attachment to this beautiful community, and it is a representation of communities across the state that are doing it tough. And I want to thank Victorians who have given just so generously already support, and thank them for every way that communities have come together to support one another. But it is another opportunity to remind everyone that today is another difficult day for fire in the landscape in many parts of Victoria. It continues to be warm, it continues to be windy, and there are already existing fires, which is why today is a day of total fire ban across the state. So please do continue to follow the advice, follow the warnings, support our emergency services. That's the best way you can support them, because we know it supports them and also saves lives. I'll now hand over to the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to the Premier of Victoria. Jacinta and I have been in almost hourly contact over recent days, and as well, Lisa Chesters, the federal member here, has been engaged as well constantly with myself and with Christy McBain, who's been on the ground here as the Minister now for 2 days. and the opportunity to be briefed here at the Bendigo Centre has been important. To say thank you to those extraordinary workers, emergency management, police, fire, volunteers who've come in here and are making a difference for their fellow Victorians as well. But also a shout out to those people who are travelling, who've come from New South Wales, who've come from different areas, volunteers who come to help their fellow Australians at a time of need. I always say that at the worst of times we see the best of the Australian character, and we're seeing that right here in Victoria at the moment. And I also thank those people from the National Emergency Management Agency who've been here on the ground, the National Aerial Firefighting Fleet that we established, making a difference, meaning that action can be done quicker than it was a number of years ago because of those resources, because of the coordination and because of the planning that goes into events. There was a national planning mechanism where we brought together all emergency management services in Canberra once again to go through these war game, effectively, what would happen when there were incidents. And today, tragically, there are multiple incidents that are very varied, the opposite indeed. The last time I was here at this centre, we were dealing with floods. Now here we're dealing with fires, but in far North Queensland, they're dealing with the consequences of flooding and a cyclone event that I'll talk about as well. So here I think the remarkable stories of people following advice that we've heard, neighbours helping neighbours, people really working with the best of intention with each other as well. My message to Victorians is pretty simple. We've got your back, not just during this crisis, but through the recovery as well. And we'll work cooperatively with the Allan government to make sure we deliver what is necessary so that people and communities can get back on their feet after what has been a very difficult period. Yesterday, the federal government expanded our support for disaster recovery funding arrangements through the now 18 local government areas, and the Alpine Resort have access to this funding. It provides for individual one-off assistance payments, personal and financial counselling, removal of debris, and ongoing support for state agencies and local councils for counter-disaster operations and restoration of essential public assets. We have our National Aerial Firefighting Fleet on the ground with, or in the air most importantly, is operational with assets deployed here in Victoria supporting the firefighting effort. Our Australian Defence Force is providing support, whether that be accommodation or through catering and access to staging areas, and the Australian Defence Force stand ready to provide further assistance, led of course by another great Victorian, my Deputy Richard Miles. Today we expand our support in partnership with the Victorian Government with an additional jointly funded package for emergency fodder support for primary producers. Based on the initial assessment and impacts of the bushfires, it's estimated that thousands of head of cattle are likely to have been impacted and in need of urgent attention and care. This package of funding will assist primary producers with the extraordinary costs of undertaking immediate and emergency livestock fodder distribution to ensure the humane treatment of stranded livestock, and it's great that we had the VFF with us here today. In addition to that, we've activated the Australian Government Disaster Recovery Payment for those who've been communities worst impacted. This is a one-off immediate payment of $1,000 per eligible adult and $400 per child who've been severely affected. It's available for people who've been seriously injured or who have lost their homes or whose homes have been directly damaged. And to check eligibility is available through the Services Australia website. While I am here in Victoria, I do want to say that our thoughts are also with our northern neighbours there in Queensland. The tropical cyclone Koji that was declared a cyclone at 5 o'clock yesterday crossed the coast between Ayr and Bowen just a short time ago this morning. This system is expected to bring large amounts of rainfall to coastal areas of North Queensland and potentially inland areas as well. Dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding is a major risk along a significant stretch of Queensland's coast. The situation is dynamic and likely to change regularly, so people should actively monitor local emergency services and the Bureau of Meteorology for updates. Once again, the federal government stands ready to assist the Queensland government, local governments and the people of Queensland during and importantly in the aftermath of the event. I spoke with Premier Crisafulli and Premier Minns, of course, yesterday as well, and we stand with Queenslanders at this difficult time as well. One of the things that occurs in this great country is that governments come together, Commonwealth, state and local. We work cooperatively in the interests of our citizens, and we'll do that here in Victoria, but we'll also do that wherever these weather events are having such a devastating impact on individuals, on families and on local communities as well.